polls are always interesting this time of year because you don't yet have the college football playoff rankings. So it's still, the AP poll and the coaches poll. And it's a pretty good mix of what have you shown versus what do we think you're capable of. Mm-hmm. And the reality is, until Georgia loses, I'm hard pressed to believe that somebody's going to knock them out of the top spot in the AP poll. Right now, Michigan's second. I get it, but I don't think Michigan has shown, if you're looking at just a pure results perspective, I don't think Michigan deserves to be ranked that high. I'm not saying they're not good enough to be that high. I'm kind of looking around the country and thinking that Ohio State is probably ranked right around where they should be. I don't know exactly how I would rank them, but I will tell you that I've been most impressed with some other programs. And if we're looking at just what have you done, Washington looks like the most dominant team in college football right now, which nobody's talking about. Washington is having a phenomenal start to the season. Georgia has a crap load of talent, and they look like it. They're definitely a top 4 team to me. I think Texas looks outstanding, and they registered a huge win over Alabama. I don't think Alabama's quite what they've been. I think a lot of people are probably feeling that way, but Alabama's still a legitimate test, and Texas beat them. Florida State's beaten both LSU and Clemson already, right? I mean, how could you not include them in the top 4 right now? And so all 4 of those teams don't include Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan for me. So I don't really know how I would consider ranking teams at this point, but I think it underscores the reality that this thing feels pretty wide open. I'm not looking around saying, yeah, everybody's playing for second place because Georgia's that good, right? Mm-hmm. There are 8 or 9 teams that I think have a legit chance to win the national championship, and all of them have a very real chance to make the playoff in the first place. And that's part of what we're going to find out over the next few weeks. But I don't know that I would think Ohio State is, based on purely results, I would say that they're probably no better than 4th.
It's so exciting in my opinion, where the state of college football this year. And think about if we had the 12-team playoff going this year, this would be the year for it, because there are so many teams. Currently, as it stands today, if there's a 12-team playoff, Alabama would be the 12th seed, right? And they'd be playing Georgia potentially, or however it would shake. How cool is that? Where it's for the first time in a long time, just like you said, there's the last 4 or 5 years, really it was a competition for second place, honestly. But you even left out a couple names there. USC 4-0. They look incredible. Yeah, Oregon 4-0, dominant. And then there's one team that still hasn't gotten its flowers yet, but it's kind of on the back end, is Washington State. They beat Wisconsin a couple weeks ago and then beat Oregon State last week. And also, too, there's so many big picture national storylines. One of my favorites is that it's just so wide open. There's a handful of Pac-12 teams, and they're giving it their last hurrah for the Pac-12, but a handful of teams out in the Pac that it's really hard for, potentially our fan base here. No joke, all those games kick off at 10 p.m., 10 or 11. And it's honestly hard to watch. Michael Penix is going to potentially, if he stays on this path, he's going to win the Heisman Trophy this year. And you may not have seen him play yet. So it's one of those things where there's so much good football going on right now, and you can make a case sitting here and going into week 5 that, I don't know, 4, 5, or 6 teams could win the national championship. And that's, in my opinion, that's awesome.
It absolutely is. I saw Michael Penix through 4 games has put up better offensive numbers than Iowa's offense has through the last 23 games.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And they're doing it against, and for the first time ever, the Pac-12, in the top 25, you got Washington, USC, Oregon, Utah. You got Washington State. You got Oregon State. So there's 6 teams right there. that are in the Pac-12 that historically haven't been relevant, but this year they're playing some really good football and really fun football too.